Okay, going to continue. And again, as per previous posts, every day of my entire life, I would get up, brush my hair back. When it was long, tie it back, and this is how it used to look, even with school. But as you can see in previous posts, when my hair is natural, it is naturally wavy. So we don't put anything in it. The other thing, my hair has always been dark brown, near black. The only time my hair was ever blonde was when I was a baby and a toddler. But what people, I guess, that are, well, the people that are making up these stories, which are drug fucked losers of people, or people that confuse me with either oh, here we go. I'll give you 4 people that after I was lied about in 2015 and an organisation said they're going to rally around friends or family, and then found information, and I found people from areas, which is also my mother's fault and my twin sister. You don't involve people in someone's life. I do that. I involve people in my life. You don't do it. That's breaking confidentiality and privacy laws. So I had people contact me that actually knew my mum's nephew, Shane Childs, that knew my mother's ex-stepson, Daniel Rackley. I had people contact me who knew of, or this all relates to around December 2015 as well. There was a guy from Tamworth who we were in the same musicals together, Darren Taylor, and people had information related to him. This all came about in 2015, 2016. And people from my high school that perfectly described Justin Pascoe and how this was about, because they saw photos of myself and Brett Aikenhead on social media. Brett Aikenhead put, oh, we look like brothers, which, no, we don't. And creepy. I only knew this Brett Aikenhead from April 2015, very briefly. So I'm getting blamed for this stuff. Nothing to do with me. Saying, oh, he copied him. It's like, no. When I met Brett, he was clean shaven and a skinhead. Okay. Then he came back to my place around 2016. He had long hair and a beard. I've always had long hair and a beard. Okay. Always different styles of long hair and always different styles of beard. And my hair is naturally dark brown, near black. Then the crap to do with the English Bull Terrier. It's like, and I know English Bull Terriers really well. And most people that come at me with information that they think they know about an English Bull Terrier, they are not giving information about English Bull Terriers. They're giving information about a Pit Bull Terrier, like a Staffordshire Bull Terrier, or American Bull Terrier. The English Bull Terriers are very different. You can't treat an English Bull Terrier like you can another terrier. English Bull Terriers are very sensitive dogs, very emotional dogs, have skin problems, health problems, knee problems, joint problems. They're not a dog to be outdoors much. They actually are a lazy around house dog. Bred from the English Terrier and the English Bulldog comes an English Bull Terrier. All the other dogs have a lot of Staffy in them. Different breeds. So there's that. Then because I speak French, but I have always spoken French words. I've always spoken Italian words, and I've always spoken Arabic words. This is something that's my entire life. And why? Well, for starters, if you just want to go basics, I'm Roman Catholic. So when I started schooling at St. Aidan's, Rooty Hill in 1984, you did have to, still in the 80s, learn other languages to do with your religion. Now, if my twin sister can't remember even studies to do with religious studies, that's her problem. That's her problem, not mine. Deal with it. If you don't remember that, that's fine. That's your problem. Don't deny me the truth, which is something my twin sister does a lot, because that's her learned behaviour of being entitled, which is my mother and my mother's sisters. Okay? Entitled women. So, St. Aidan's, this is really easy to prove. I still have my school badge. The motto in the 80s of St. Aidan's was actually written in Latin. You learned Latin at St. Aidan's in the 80s, which you did with Father O'Grady. Okay, and yes, you did when you made your first Holy Communion. So the lead up to first Holy Communion practice, you learn. And you got to remember, the Roman Catholic Bible is not the St. James Bible. Roman Catholic is the Roman Catholic Bible. It was written in Aramaic, Greek, Hebrew, and you need to learn these words. Okay, so if you start at school at a young age, like I did at 4 years of age, and you're learning just the languages that go towards your religion, you're going to pick up languages straight away. But put that aside, started high school. So after Mum moved, started high school at Our Lady Rosary College. Excuse me. Lady Rosary College, I did 2 years French. My French teacher was Miss Davis. There was 2 French teachers. One of them was Miss Craig. Miss Craig I had for music. Miss Craig actually had, if I remember very clearly, frizzy sort of black bobbed hair. That was my music teacher. Miss Davis had short, mousy brown hair. Remember him clearly. Then there was Miss Davids, which was my English teacher. She had short blackish hair. Miss Newbury, which was a bit of a butch teacher. There was her. I remember my teachers really well. So from school. So I did 2 years French at Adelaide Rosary College in 1992 and 1993. Now I would have continued, except it clashed with other courses I want to do. So the whole curriculum I have in my Year 10 yearbook. So if you started Rosary College in 1992, completed Year 10 in 1995, your Year 10 yearbook will show about 4 pages in your curriculum, what you did. Shows all the subjects. So it's Year 7 and 8, you do all the subjects. For Years 9 and 10, you choose your majors, your electives, which is what I did. So I chose art, drama, and commerce. Commerce was Mr. Tryon. I think it's Peter Tryon. Art was Judy Borden and Miss Gill. Drama was Miss Newbury. And that's why I couldn't fit French in. But I would have fit French in. I had religious studies with Brother Hemmel. There was a letter written home regarding how good I was with religious studies and history. And history's on the religion to do with religion and the history, the terminology. I was really good with religious studies, reading the Bible, understanding the Bible, interpreting the Bible. So the New Testament and the Old Testament. Mum probably has that letter somewhere in her photo albums. I should be having that letter. So that's what I did. Apart from that, I had after school activities to do with fashion. So everyone keeps focusing on horse riding. I don't know why. That was a sport. Horse riding is right through my family, but so is horse racing through my family. But that's a sport and a business. My other sport was soccer. My after school activities was fashion. I did modelling. I did fashion modelling. You wouldn't think so now, but I've had a really hard 9 years. If you look at me 9 years ago, prior to 2015, you could see that in me. Now you can't, but I did. I did fashion modelling. I did photography modelling. I wore Dolce & Gabbana back when I was 16, 17 years of age, and I had stunning clothing my entire life. And if my mum wants to tell the truth, going back to when we still lived in Sydney and she was a paralegal for Ian Scholbach. Ian Scholbach used to say, "Oh, Carol, you only work so shop at David Jones." So basically, her husband, my father, was a builder. So my dad's a full-time builder. My mother was a full-time paralegal, both full-time working parents. We had a horse stud in the suburbs of Sydney. And my mum worked in the city. And Ian Scholbach, he was like an uncle to us, and he was mum's boss. Mum worked for him since she was 16. After she went back to work after having the twins, he used to say, because she used to be out shopping all the time for us, fancy clothing and fancy toys. We had everything. We even had the Lego table that people used to see in banks. That was a big round table. We had that. So you had like all these, like about 5 or 6 seats with Lego little mats in front and a big beam in the center. So when all our friends came around, you could sit at this round table in our entertainment area in Rudy Hill. And we had that. I had a 2-story that you would say, well, it was a 2-story teenagers retreat, but I used to call it a cubby house because I was a kid, but it was running water lights, 2 stories, bedroom upstairs, living room downstairs. That was off the entertainment area. We had fancy clothing, we had motorbikes, we had everything, horses, swimming pool, landscape gardens, but we had 2 full-time working parents. That's what I say to people. When you have kids, you can't, like if you want a lifestyle, you've got to work to pay for your kids. My parents did, both of them. Then they divorced and all hell went broke from both of them because they never ever were decent after that, once they divorced. It was like we're the kids from the first marriage. Seriously, that's exactly how we felt. Because they both wanted to forget about each other and it was nasty. It was always nasty. I mean, no, look, don't get me wrong. Dad was great. We used to go and visit Dad and, Dad and Annette. I mean, Christ almighty, we had a separate wardrobe at my dad's full of clothes. But they were nasty in a way that, not towards us, but it was always nitpicking type thing. And it was. I mean, Mum was bad with her second husband. But yeah, like we would go, for example, we had our bedroom at Mum's. We had our bedroom at Dad's. When Dad was so before they had other children, so when Dad was with Annette, we had clothes. So they would go and buy us all these clothes. We'd go to Dad's and our wardrobe would be full of clothes. Dad, we were like, "Are you going to leave these here?" So we had things that were left at Dad's, we had things that were left at Mum's, because we had two full-time working parents. Right. That aside, went to good schools. I always worked hard. So even though we had that, there was none of this. We always worked hard. We had our sports. Like I said, my after-school activities. I did downtown interiors for work experience. I did Treloar's menswear, doing styling and visual merchandising for work experience. I did Johnson Street, Tamworth TAFE, arts and media work experience to be an art professor. I did every holidays. I was in Sydney working for John Smales. It was called PJ's Family Boats, and then PJ's Boats, and then Family Boats and whatever. That was with so John Smiles was a good friend of my grandfather's and my mother's, and my grandfather helped him get out of helped him in his business, put it that way. So my grandfather was Reg. So then Reg worked for him, and I used to go to work with him, and I used to do the 6 days. So we're down in Sydney, and I used to work 6 days. Saturday was a half day, and John used to pay me $50 a day, and he did. I mean, it doesn't seem much now, but when you're a teenager in the 90s, $50 a day is a lot of money, and I used to save it. There's $300 a week. Yeah, that was true. So there was that. I was always involved. Theatre, drama, musicals, everything. Try to bring in my city life to after Mum moved. So having my city life, I used to then always have Wednesdays to myself. So Wednesdays was my day through high school where I could do whatever I want. So I was to hang out with friends from other high schools. I used to hang out at the shopping mall. I used to hang out at the Coffee Bean in the Tamworth Arcade. Hang out with other artists, theatre people, even Nick Simpson Deeks was there. Mr. Dan, Master Dan, he used to call Daniel Gillette. Mr. Dan was Dan Hallett. And had a good group of friends that were a hell of a lot older than me as well, because I used to always hang around. If I was in year 9, I used to hang around year 12 students. Always hung around older people. So it was that as well. So that was my life. So when people bring up the fact to do with art and things, it's like, but I've studied art my entire life, which is why then straight after high school, I went to, cancel this. I went to TAFE College in Newcastle. So I moved back. So I'm not from a country town, and we're always back home in Sydney, but I did live in Tamworth, which is a rural city. And my mum's property is 10 minutes out of the main centre, and the main centre is just like living in a suburb of Sydney. Like it's not this country environment that people seem to think. It's definitely not a country environment. It's a rural city. There's a difference. Country environments are like things that you see, other areas. I wouldn't call Tamworth to be a country environment. I would call it's a rural city. And it is a city, but it's a small city. So I lived there for 6 years. And during that 6 years, my leisure time was all spent back home in Sydney. Every second weekend was spent back home in Sydney. We didn't have horse riding events on. So we still grew up like we did in Sydney, which meant going holidays to Central Coast, always at the beach, in the suburbs of Sydney. You need clothes. We'll go to Sydney and get some clothes. So I think go clothes shopping and so forth. We're not going this weekend. We'll take Friday off. We're going to Sydney. This was like for those 6 years. So it's like, so when people say, you didn't have foundations of friends there, it's like, no, because I still kept my friends in Sydney, and we were always back home in Sydney every second weekend. So if we weren't competing in the competition, so people you compete in competitions in, you're just riding against them. So that's finished. Nothing on next weekend, we're going to Sydney. Okay, that's what it was. So it's not like you could say, I've met people at school, I'm going to hang out with them this weekend. No, because I've either got sports or I'm in Sydney. Every holiday was spent back in Sydney except for October. I moved back to Sydney in 1995. Okay, this is so simple for people to understand. Then I went to Dad's. This is already planned anyway. I went to Dad's at Empire Bay, December 1995. Got into the Hunter Street TAFE College in Newcastle, and even like when you study TAFE, you do have like a lesson a week that is outside of TAFE. Like for Enmore Design Centre, TAFE College, I studied that in 2009. That was called Eddie Meets. So the same thing. Okay, so when I was doing Newcastle, that was always in Sydney. So Dad's made sense because I'm either going to Newcastle and getting off at Civic Station, or I'm catching the train to Sydney and getting off at St James. And that's what it is. So when I say to people, yeah, but I used to hang around Woolloomooloo when I was a teenager. And then suddenly you've got people from Tam or elsewhere going, oh, that's bullshit. It's like, what do you mean it's bullshit? I used to be there each week in the city. And I remember Woolloomooloo really clearly as a teenager, but I also remember it really clearly growing up when I used to go in there with Nan and Pop. And I even made a comment, a few years ago, and I'm like, look, okay, maybe I'm wrong with this memory, but I'm pretty sure Harry DeWheel's The Pie Shop was a old caravan on the opposite side of the road. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it was the opposite side, like where the service station is, and not where it is now. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was the opposite side of the road, because I still remember when the Finger Wharf, Woolloomooloo Wharf, was a rundown place. They were going to demolish it, and there was a spray painted sign right across it that said for lease or something on it. And that was even back in 1996. It was just run down and dingy. They were going to knock it down and get rid of it. Then the investors took it on and they turned that area into something that it is now, but it was a dump. I remember it as a teenager. It was a dump. You wouldn't live there. God, was it? So if you're from that area in the 90s, it's like, oh, God, it was a dump. But I used to sit up at the Lady Macquarie's chair where the matchsticks are, lean against the matchsticks and draw across the bay there. I've still got some sketches from across the bay. The same as I used to sit across the park, across from Nan's place in 43 Piper Street in Leichhardt and draw the viaducts growing up. I mean, Nan did sell that house back in 1999. I was going to that house a lot in Leichhardt. I loved that house in Leichhardt. So I go there. That's when I say, oh, my Nan's house. And then my mum speaks up. It's like, can you shut up? Yes, Uncle Fred owned the house. I know that. Not an idiot. So Uncle Fred is Leo Patrick Sayer, my great uncle who I was close to. He owned that house. When he bought that house, he was living in Bellevue Hill. Okay. So he rented it to his sister. His sister, my big Nan, Mary, raised her family in that house, which means my little Nan was raised in that house and so forth. My big Nan moved back into that house with her brother when she got older, and she moved back in there in 1989. So I used to go there and visit my big Nan and her brother, and I've always called it my Nan's house. Okay, my Nan, not Nan and Pop's house, my Nan's house. Okay, always. So I'll go to my Nan's house, 43 Piper Street, Leichhardt. And there's the thing, I used to go there so much that I know that address off by heart. How to get there, how to drive there, know it off by heart, that place. Same as, our place in Sydney and so forth. Where I grew up, in Dunsmore Street, or where my grandparents' place was in Blacktown, which Nan moved from in 2005. So yeah, this is my life. And all this was denied. I'm like, okay, I don't care. I'm telling you the truth. And not just denied, organisations got involved and twisted it. Mental health organisations started making up stories. Oh, it's a psychotic breakdown because, one, and this is where it comes to, he believes he studied design and he believes he has a green card to America. Let me correct both of those. And this is St. Vincent's. St. Vincent's did this. St. Vincent's, that massive, huge monstrosity in Darlinghurst that is a multi-billion-dollar business, destroyed my life for 9 years in 2 countries, and I asked my family for help and they didn't help. So let me tell you, when I started packing up to relocate to America, because I've just got a green card to the US, and I want to close off things in Sydney like my part salary payment, return to work progress, because I had been going for recovery after I was mugged November 30th, 2007, learned to maintain those physical health injuries. There was no mental health injuries surrounding this. I already said this, but I found out in 2015 that Giovanni had spread information that wasn't true about me, and information to people like George Jacobs that wasn't true. I turned to my family and asked to have this corrected. They didn't help. They didn't help at all. My family didn't help. None. They did not help with what I specifically asked for help with. They only wanted to help with what they wanted to do. Now, that's extreme narcissism. It's like, I don't need what you want to do. I don't need. I need what I'm asking for help with. No, not going to do it. It's like, okay, that's an extreme narcissist. As a control freak narcissist, like, fine, then don't be in my life. If you're not going to help with it, I don't want you in my life. Because you're a narcissist and you're toxic. Because what you are doing is damaging my life and not helping it. Like I said to him, I said, this isn't greyhound therapy. Giovanni's spurting shit about greyhound therapy. This isn't greyhound therapy. This is me going through the green card process. Something that I said I would do back even in 2001 when I was over in the US in January and February 2001, and I couldn't believe when my twin sister had the option to get a green card from Cindy and Kevin Burke, who she was living with in Stafford, Virginia, and she was looking after Kaylee, Connor, and Anna. Anna, sorry, I used to get in trouble for saying Anna, of the mother. So Cindy Burke and Kevin Burke in Stafford, Virginia, where Amanda was living, and they were going to get her a green card. So she lived there for a year and a half, and she didn't want it. I'm like, are you kidding me? Just get it. They're going to help you get the green card. So I had always put myself in the situation to apply for a green card to America. This is my dream, what I wanted to do. So I worked for Star Casino, was a VIP host at Star Casino right up until I was mugged November 30th, 2007 on a salary package of $47,730 a year. After I was mugged, after work, I was like, okay, they've holding me off work because I need to recover from these injuries. What am I going to do? I'll go back to my studies. Okay, left high school, 1995, U-turn certificate, went to TAFE College, studied fine arts in 1996. Fine arts certificate. 1997, studied design fundamentals. 1997. Then there was other things that went on in my life, and I'll explain that a bit more with the 90s, but I'm going to move forward and say in 2009 studied design, events, illustration at Enmore Design Centre, where I did study and receive. So I had to break, little pieces of different parts of design. So there was fashion design in it to incorporate design a wearable object. You have to touch on fashion design for that subject. Whether you want to say it or not, you need to look at costume design, fashion design. It's design a wearable object, and there's your brief. And I've got the brief still on it. It's design a wearable object, and I passed that and received a credit. Now I wanted to keep going further in interior design, so I went to Coco Republic. Now Coco Republic, that expensive furniture shop that everyone doesn't realize that it used to have a design school connected to TAFE College. Coco Republic had a design school affiliated with Enmore Design Centre TAFE College, and I studied interior decoration and passed that course there with them. During that period of time, from 2009 until 2012, I worked for Steve Hatchett-Dimitri, actually where I designed one-off sofas. He had me down as employed as a design consultant, which is just glorified shop advisor, I guess, giving you design ideas. But I had studied design. But I was doing more than just design consultancy, because I actually drew up designs based on what I had learned at TAFE College, implemented those designs into his computer system. So the factory knew how to change the templates to fit my design, and that was sent off. Okay, I did that in 2012. My dad then, Dad, Mark Ian Fleming, who's a builder, was like, okay, why didn't you do work in it? Like, since you go back to work in that. It's like, why? You've just had me lied about for 9 years. You as my father, Mark Ian Fleming, you're my father. Mark Jeffrey Rackley isn't my father. You, my father, Mark Ian Fleming, my mother, Carol Ann Purdy, my family members, my twin sister, Amanda Lee Fleming, you were told to help me where I'm getting lied about, slandered, and all this wrong information was spread. You didn't. I've had mental health industries. I've had groups, organizations, social workers, support workers all attack my life and harass my life since I was lied about in 2015. You lot were asked to help correct the truth, not go down your path of what you believe or what you are projecting. That's not what I asked. I need a solicitor to verify this information, remove the false information before this gets out of control, before situations that were misinterpreted with me, whether it was an argument between two people that was under a surveillance camera or whatever, before this is out of control, I need it corrected. Okay, that's what I need, because I have a green card to the US. This is what I've done, and this is where the situation was misinterpreted and blown away. Police blew that situation out of proportion to suit their own narrative and agenda, which they did. Okay, I have been spied upon, which I was. I had prying, defamation of character, discrimination. I had privacy laws, confidentiality laws, broken into my life. I was monitored and surveillanced from groups and organizations during a period of time. You as my family were asked to help me have this resolved, remove what's going on that's damaging my life and my health. I don't use drugs, so why am I getting harassed by drug dealers? Giovanni's the one that was always a big ice user, and you could never tell. I only know this because I used to be away and come back to my apartment, and I'd be like, oh my God, what's that smell? And Giovanni's like, oh, you always smell things. I'm like, no, and I used to vomit. And I knew that when I met him because I caught him doing it. And I knew that. And why he does it is because he gets fisted. So I'll be honest. It's like, sorry, you lied about me, man. I'm going to tell the truth about you. So he needs it to get fisted to relax his muscles or something. Which is why I steered away from our sex life with him and so forth. I really let the wrong person come over and stay when it came with Giovanni Consalvo. I should have stayed single like I was going to, or, anyway, that's another thing to discuss. So, and that would set me off. Of course it would. I don't agree with that behaviour, even though I've ignored people's other behaviour. The same as I don't agree with cannabis smoking, and people know this from me in the past. If you know me, it's like, yeah, Justin doesn't, his stepbrother does. So when it comes to drugs and alcohol, that's Justin's stepfather's family, not his father's family. Two different. So when you get confused, like I was getting confused as the Rackleys, you're getting all their issues projected into your life, and people think, oh, no, the Rackleys are big alcoholic drinkers, they're cannabis smokers, they're drug users. It's like, yeah, they are. Yeah, so then Justin's the same. It's like, no, because it's not Justin Rackley, it's Justin Fleming. My last name's not Rackley, it's Fleming. I'm not related to the Rackleys. That's my mother's second husband's family. So that's where police had it wrong. And then, of course, police have it wrong, and then mental health units have it wrong because the Rackleys also had deep-seated depression and suicide. And when I was getting lied about, and they look up and say, oh, he's known as Rackley. It's like, oh, the Rackleys have got this, this, and this. Ah, so that's why he must have it. It's like, no, I'm not Rackleys and I don't have it. These issues. But Daniel Rackley does, yes. My ex-stepbrother. Then I have people come up and go, oh, he doesn't have a stepbrother. It's like, I do have a stepbrother. If you want to know my family, it's like, okay, my parents were married. They had twins. They divorced. My mother had 2 daughters. One of them died with her second husband. Her second husband from his first marriage had children with his first wife, Daniel Rackley, Michelle Rackley, Kimberly Rackley, Belinda Rackley. My dad had another daughter with his partner. So after Annette, he got with Debbie briefly, and Debbie doesn't know a thing. Debbie was just somebody he had an affair with. So Debbie Smith, or Debbie Mackay, because her first husband was Lindsay Smith. And Debbie had 3 daughters with that. So you got Samantha, Laura, and Lucy. And Debbie and Dad had Sky, Sharon, and Fleming. It's really that simple. And that's all I'm saying. Like, that's how simple it is. So don't project shit into my life. So when it comes to this crap, it was like, okay, like I said, I hadn't done anything. When I applied for the green card, I started my application in 2011. And I was still working for Steve Hatch Dimitri in 2011. I had just finished design courses in 2009 and 2010. By 2012, when I submitted my application, my life had changed. Okay, but that's okay, because I was going to go back to it. Then I had health issues. I was like, oh, let's focus on these health issues. Then these health issues that stemmed from having spinal meningitis in 2010 got worse. And I needed to try and get that under control because I didn't want it to impact on my entire life like it has now. So didn't really do anything. I was still plodding along, working on my artwork and so forth, just watching the chronic fatigue and issues where I was picking up infections constantly and really bad. Next minute I've got glandular fever again. It's like, oh shit, my glands and my groins were swollen. Like, I've got all this on medical documents. It was just a nightmare. So then I was like, okay, went for the green card process. My interview was in August 2014 at the US consulate in the MLC building. And they said, look, you've got to make an entry. So they changed my passport. So you've got to make an entry before the end of the year. I'm like, August, we've just past mid-year now. It's like, okay, I'll make the entry in December. But I was already in New York the year before looking around at rental properties because I already knew how I was going to work this out. I was like, if I get the green card, that gives me peace of mind that I've got it for 10 years before it needs to be renewed. That means I can have a bit of breathing space. You've gone through the process, you have the green card, it's not going anywhere. That means you focus on your health. That means you focus on getting everything stable to do with physical health injuries and so forth, and you have them maintained. You get your solicitor to negotiate your job back in 2017 like what was meant to happen, so it bridges the gap with casino work. So there we go. What did you, after you were mugged after work, you went back to that job. That's what was meant to happen. So it bridges that gap. So that looks good. You went back to your job role. It showed you did that. Okay? That's what you're going to do. Then you're going to go back to Coca Republic and you're going to touch on another design course. You've studied this in 2009 and this in 2010. That's more recent. And you worked for Steve Hatchett and Matey for that period from 2009 to 2012. That's what you're going to do. And I had it all planned. You're going to do your exhibition and you're going to do your Uncle Fred's photography book. That was all planned to get done before I moved to America. What happened was I was lied about in 2015. I found out there was previous lies that happened. 2016, Danielle Curran from Acorn, Matterrock from Reach Out Organisation, Bobby Goldsmith, Crisis Group, Acute Care Centre, St. Vincent's other mental health crap, which got wrong information, harassed my life. My family was asked to put a stop to it, put a stop to these organisations. I had volunteers coming around, cleaning my place because I was told I couldn't look after myself. I was like, no, my disc is slipped in my back. I'll get to my bathroom when the disc is not slipped. Thanks very much. But sure, you want to clean the bathroom for me? No worries. I moved out of my apartment for 6 months from April 2015 to October 2015. I found out that Giovanni spread false information during that period of time that wasn't true, hindering me. If I had been listened to and there was transparency between me, which there should be, and nobody else speaking for me, that could have been resolved really simply. I asked my mother to do the right thing, which I was getting lied about, help me resolve these lies. Instead, she wanted to benefit and gain for herself, knowing how much money I had in the bank. And she said, oh, you could come up here and buy a house and Faith could rent it off you. And I'm like, no, this is going towards my move to America so I can buy a place and live in the US. Or what do you want to do that for? And starts this stuff. I'm like, because you, as my mother, should not have a green card. She didn't. My dad didn't. It's like, okay, so you can't even tell me what I've studied. You don't know anything about me. And here I am trying to get false information corrected. What I need is a solicitor. Here's information. Verify that to be, as per the documents, to be the truth. Correct the false information and tell these organisations that are harassing me, including mental health and police as well, that had it wrong, to stop. 9 years later, in 2 countries, that right there is what caused the damage for me in America, because I packed up and moved to the US. Okay, I got harassed because of information from Australia. In the US, mental health harassed me in America. I couldn't proceed to move forward with my job in America. I was working for Mohegan Sun in the US. I just was doing Players Club, but that was only where I brought a foreclosure, to take out a foreclosure to make some money and sell on within a year. Then moved to Atlantic City. And the place I was looking at to buy in Atlantic City was something I was going to own for the rest of my life. It suited me perfectly. Even if I was to move to New York, it was a rental property I could rent out. Okay, so that's how I had everything planned. Now, I'm someone that doesn't like nature, so I'm not going to move where there's nature. Okay, I don't, never have. I like concrete, 24-hour city, sand and salt water. That's it. People say, oh, but you didn't grow up like that. It's like, yes, I did grow up like that. You think I grew up in the country. I didn't grow up in the country. You think because I've owned horses growing up and, competed in horse riding events, that I've grown up on land or farming or something like this. I did not grow up like that. I did not grow up like you've imagined. I don't drive utes, I drove sports cars. Through my teenage years, when I was going to buy a sports car and my mum chucked a shit attack, I was going to buy an Alfa Romeo, and mum chucked a shit attack because my premiums were going to be through the roof. My grandfather said, no, wait till you're 21, then get a sports car. I can explain all this in great detail because I did wait till I was 21 and get a sports car, but I had muscle cars before that. I'm not a ute driver, I'm not a country person, and this is where all the wrong information's gone. But it wasn't information that was projected from myself, it was from outside sources of information that was gathered. Gathering and spreading of false information about me that damaged my life and my health and my figure and every possible aspect of my entire life where I can't. There's no possible way to be able to fix this. It's damaged me in 2 countries. I won't, as a 45-year-old man now, won't be able to have a future. And I can't get this truth told because Australia has a really shit legal system. If all these had happened in America, I could have easily signed on with a attorney, and I spoke to Attorney Adler in Hartford, Connecticut about what was going on, and they were confused because there was information that had been put through to immigration about me, and that was wrong. I had people coming to America saying he doesn't have a green card. His last name's Rackley, he's from Tamworth. I had this in America. I had a very difficult time to get along. I had people making up stories that it was therapy. So they were trying to put me into therapy in America. It was Greyhound therapy. This is to help him get over trauma. It's like, I don't have trauma. I don't have PTSD. This is not therapy. I applied for a green card, a DV1 green card, diversity visa. This is not therapy. But I had people from Australia making up these stories and telling people in America, and this did happen. And it's not, I'm not making up this stuff. This happened. This happened in the area I lived. I had people wanted to contact me, to counsel me. And it's like, what is going on? You know, and the anger towards my mother was, you did this, Carol. This is why I asked you for a solicitor to correct this information. This is exactly why. You were asked in 2015, you were asked in 2016, you were asked to stop lying in 2017. You were asked to stop lying and help me correct it because of what you perceive or what you want to, your own agenda. So not mentally disabled, don't use drugs, didn't have a psychotic breakdown, never had any type of a breakdown, was not going to America because America can look after PTSD and anxiety. These were jokes I was playing on people in 2017 because idiots didn't know I had a green card to America. They didn't know I studied design. They knew nothing about me. None of this was true. And I turned to my parents, Mark Ian Fleming, Caroline Purdy, and said, I need this. But they made it worse in 2017. My family made it worse because they went with their own belief, not the facts, and then gaslighted me ever since by saying, oh, he's making up stories about everybody. It's like, no, you lie about me, I'm going to tell the truth about you. I'm not making up stories and I'm backing it up, which is why I had people in Sydney who I'm not related to. They're the ones that started, you know, saying, oh, I heard you moved to America because you were trying to get away from drug use. I'm like, oh, I don't use drugs. Which was Sam Delati said that. I heard it was because of this. It's like, no, the truth is I've got a green card to America. I studied design. Oh, he's delusional. Oh, it's delusions of grandeur. He studied design. It's like, really? Do you say that about everybody that's done a TAFE course? So this was spread into organisations in Sydney. More importantly, these organisations in St. Vincent's because they had it wrong. It's like, I never said I was anything great at it. I said I studied it and I worked at it. That's it. That is it. What I've said, seriously. And now I've done nothing with it since 2012 and I won't do anything with it because I have got health issues like you wouldn't believe that it's destroyed everything. I'm sick all the time. I got fucking drugged on G and I did. I do not use drugs. Okay, I'm not a drug user. I cannot stand cannabis. I'm allergic to it. And whatever people think of me, because I used to talk to everybody, accept everybody, I don't even drink alcohol. Most of the times when I go out, I'm drinking tonic water with lime. And anybody who knows me knows this because I have a very bad kidneys and so forth. But I'm a premature baby. I don't know if this has anything to do with it. Amanda and myself have never been much participators in drinking alcohol and it affects us really quickly. But then, like I said, I had a Stephanie DeSalis pop her head up and she does not know a thing about me. And she doesn't. But what she gathered from social media or what she gathered from people that will give her information. And then she made up bullshit stuff. You know, apparently we were drinking under the bridge in Brighton Les Sands, tequila and all this stuff. It's just, oh, one night we fell asleep under the blanket and he was drunk and I was like, come here. And it's like, we never drank tequila. I was told that was a story I was saying once when we had the tequila at mine and Amanda's 21st. And I ate the worm. And she was using information and putting herself into it. So Stephanie DeSalis met me in late 2004, proceeded to harass my life, which he did, and I was laughing about it, saying I've got a stalker. John Cabino, my partner at the time, in 2005, says, stop laughing about this. She's got delusional fantasies about you and she's stalking. I was like, relax. She's a crazy fag hag. She's harmless. No, she's not harmless at all. John turned around and was like, you don't know her. You can't see her for what she is, but he could. Stay away from her. She's bad news. By July 2005, I avoided her like a plague because, and I'm not going to get into details. Yep, John was right. To only affiliate with her briefly in 2006 around the week of my sister's wedding, when then I was like, holy shit, John really was right, basically. She was told then to fuck off, never show her face again. 9 years later, she pops her head up in 2015, and it wasn't a polite popping my head up. It was, I was getting slandered across social media, and I told everybody to mind their own business and butt out. That's a complete lie about me. And she pops her head up, and it's like, oh, I'm taking Brett's side, and Brett's friend Spiro. I know she knew Spiro growing up. I'm like, I don't give a shit. You're a fucking crazy stalker. And she popped her head up. Yeah. Police don't do their job because police were told this back in 2015. They were told that I'd been getting stalked and harassed in 2015. Brett Aikenhead's friends, after he lied about me across social media, are harassing me. Some Aboriginal guy and his sister, some guy called Spencer and his sister. I'm walking my dog around Rush Coast Bay Park where I lived, going to the coffee shop, which is something I did every day. Brett was sitting there, Brett Aikenhead, with some guy, Spencer and his sister, waiting for me to come in, and they harassed me. I rang Newtown Police. They did nothing to arrest them. Said, oh no, only if he assaults you again. I have had nothing but monitored surveillance harassment where criminals were dragged into my life since 2015. I had some guy, Peter Fry, who I don't know at all, and he doesn't know me. When I'm walking my dog around the Reg Oval side of Rushcutters Bay Park, he walked up to me and said, oh, you Brett Aikenhead's ex, which I'm not. I never went out with Brett Aikenhead. And brought up to do with my dog that I brought from Brett. And I did buy my dog from Brett. So I don't accept the lies about me. Like I said to people, mind your own business. Those are lies. Okay, that's between me. And if it needs to be taken to court legally, it can be taken to court legally. But I'm getting slandered and lied about through social media. Ignore it, butt out. It doesn't concern you. Okay? So this Peter Fry did harassment. I thought, fuck this. I'm going to get some juice on this guy and fuck him over. Look, he was a weirdo. And yeah, I had sex with a complete stranger. Who cares? I don't. And not something that I would ever affiliate with. But at the same time, I was getting harassed by Tamworth people and my mother's sisters across social media, which is what they do. So, oh, he's having a break. Oh, now he's dating this person. So they're women fat, ugly women that have nothing better to do in their life than harass their nephews. Seriously, I have never slept with the amount of men that my mother's sister, Robin Childs, has in her life. She has slept with a shitload of men, and she should worry about her own children like Shane and Christy Childs, who are deadbeat, drug-fucked losers of just morons. Instead, they were worrying about my life, harassing me across social media. It's like, oh, now he's with this guy. It's like, I'm single. I could meet a guy tomorrow. So the day I met Peter Fry, I took selfies with him, put them up on social media, and watched them made up stories. So that's what it was. I knew of the guy for about 5 weeks only. And then people started affiliating with him. I'm like, this was great if a solicitor was involved to say defamation of character. He doesn't know the guy. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. It didn't happen the way I wanted to. Then it continued with harassment from organisations. Those organisations harassed my life in 2017, tried to make out that I had a breakdown or psychotic breakdown. I didn't. The magistrate even said, he didn't have a psychotic breakdown. This is what's going on. And you're not going to, continue down the path of making up that he's had a psychotic breakdown when he didn't. The magistrate turned to me and said, get a solicitor. I was in the process of packing up and moving to America anyway. And I was, forget it. I'll let it go. I moved on, moved to America, except those organisations harassed me in America, which is why I come back to Australia. So it's like, you already won. I won, but I let it go. I could have sued you after 2017 for damages. I should have done that straight away. Instead, I was polite and let it go. I come back to Australia, and that's St. Vincent's. You're wrong. You're trying to cover it up. And you're doing a good job at covering up because I don't have a family to have my back. My family should have had my back and had a solicitor involved. Everybody should be coming up with, he's a human rights solicitor, he's a solicitor, go after St. Vincent's. That's what you should be doing. All the crap. Instead, in America, I got freaking put through hell. In Australia, I got put through hell. My dad was like last year, oh, well, why don't you do work? You could work in design then if you've studied that. I've been a smart ass. I'm like, really? I'm your only son. And that's how you treat me. You've been a smartass. I bet you if this was Sky, you want to be a smartass too. Really. How about being a father and defending your son? Because in 2017, when I had people from Tamworth say that, oh, his father's an alcoholic, cannabis smoking, drug using deadbeat, they were actually talking about my stepfather, my ex-stepfather, Mark Rackley. And I'm there trying to tell my dad, I've got people, but I'm trying to tell Dad, I'm trying to help you here, Mark Fleming. People think that the character of Mark Rackley is my father's character. Will you listen to me? And you didn't. So the character of my stepfather, Mark Rackley, and the character of my stepfather's son, Daniel Rackley, which Freemasons from a nursing home, bikie gang members, nurses, disability workers, and other people know from the New England area, they think that's my father's character. So you're my father, you're getting slandered. I'm trying to help you, you're not listening to your son. So I looked at this and thought, no, sorry, but you don't listen to your son when he's trying to help you. And your your nieces, like Rebecca LeMay, seriously, I'm sorry, I'm so done with them. I'm so done with their bullshit over the years. It's always like, because we're Aussie battlers. Oh, we weren't born with a silver spoon in our mouth, and neither were you. That's how she talks. Like, oh, Rebecca, you've had a different lifestyle to me. I said, yeah, my horse was more expensive than my BMW. So if you want to be a smartass and have a look at how we grew up, you grew up the way you did because your mother didn't work and your dad was an alcoholic. Your mother is my dad's sister. Aunt Sandra Fleming. So she married a Johnson. Your dad's a fucking deadbeat alcoholic. Okay, so you grew up like a deadbeat family. Okay, my dad's not an alcoholic. My dad was a hardworking builder, and my mum was a paralegal. We grew up having, what they call these days entitled lifestyle, which is like, it's not entitled. It's just both my parents worked. So I had a good school, private schooling. I had good after-school activities. I had good sports. I had expensive sports, horse sports. And that was it. So different to my cousins. So yeah, and I said, in silver spoon in the mouth, yeah. My nan's mother's side of the family did grow up better. So, I was raised by little nan, Lola, big nan, Mary, and her brother, meaning they were a massive big part of my life. Uncle Fred was a snob, which he's got right to be a snob, where, he comes from and so forth. So Leo Patrick Sayer, Big Nan, which is Mary Ann Sayer, whom she married a Keegan, they were snobs. They were absolute snobs. So compared to your family, compared to Dad's family, we had a different lifestyle. So don't project we're just Aussie battlers. Oh, fuck off, Rebecca. Aussie battler. Seriously, your mum was not educated and, didn't work, and your dad was a drunk. And that's it. So that's why you had the lifestyle you did. Don't project your upbringing onto my life. And so I looked at that side of Dad's, and I'm like, yeah, I can't deal with them, which is why as I got older and I connected with the other side, and they're still not great, Dad's sister Sharon's children. Sharon grew up, raised her family in freaking Campbelltown. Seriously. And I was like, oh, God. Yeah, and they're not Roman Catholic upbringing like I am. But I became closer, but they still got better, jobs and so forth, and did something with their lives. So all their kids did. So Joan Hillier, she was a director of teaching or something. She used to be a university lecturer, and now she does something where she's a school principal or head of English or something at a school. So good salary, and lives on the beach. Meredith Williams, the same things, and Meredith Williams married a foot doctor or something. So my cousin there, which is from the Fleming side. Same thing. I think Fiona did. They're all Jeffrey Williams. So Meredith and Jeffrey moved to Shell Harbour. Jeffrey's a town planner, town designer, and so forth. So they did good with their life. Good on them, type thing. But I was like, you still got I still with their parents and their upbringing, and their parents and upbringing lifestyle still different to mine, just because we're related. It's the same with my mother's sister. My mother's sister and their children, their lifestyle's different to mine and how we were raised. So you can't look at a whole family and say, just because you're related, you had the same upbringing, the same beliefs, the same culture, the same traditions. No, we didn't. And I can even say that within my own family. My traditions within my mother and her children is completely different to my mother's sister and her children. So for example, our traditions is mass on Christmas Eve. My cousins weren't that. Our traditions are our traditions within our family network, not the extended family network. So all this was going on as well in the last 9 years. It's like, just because you're related doesn't mean you have the same culture, the same beliefs, the same religion, the same traditions, because we don't. And I can say that my grandparents, Reg and Lola, their children and the families that their children have all have different upbringings and traditions. And that's how it works. That's how mixed families work. And that's another thing as well. But look, there we go. That's all the truth to do with, and that's something so simple when none of this really should have actually even been brought up. I don't know why it was. I don't know why it happened straight after I went for immigration and got a green card to America. Was there wrong information that got spread? Was something misinterpreted? When I was on prednisone, was things misinterpreted? Something that could be easily explained and not be harassed over? Because harassment and privacy invasion, confidentiality invasion, and prying into someone's life causes damage to that person. So could this have been something so simple to say, oh, well, that situation can be explained. High quantities of prednisone make somebody burst out in tears all the time. Or then Justin was being a smartass because he knew that people were surveillancing him. Could that have been explained? Simple. Could an organisation have said, we just need to explain what happened here? I was like, oh God, I was so sick from prednisone and I had pneumonia at the time and this was going on. So it was making me go up and down. But then what happened after that? Oh, I was getting monitored for an organisation that was pissing me off, so I played a prank on them. Could that have been something so simple like that to be spoken about, resolved and stopped 9 years ago before it caused so much damage to my life where I can't have a future?